Kevin from Jefferson County. So glad that you are calling us tonight on these very important topics. If you will, go right ahead with your question.
How would I go about getting alimony set aside? I know that the law or the rulings, if you will, have changed, but this has been like 15 years. How would I go about getting that taken care of?
So, modifying alimony it's difficult because there's a reason the judge did what they did a long time ago. And some people ask, well, I want to retire now, and sometimes the judges they don't really feel too sympathetic to that because the other person still has a need. But what you need to do is you just basically look at a change in circumstances as to the change in need and the change in the ability to pay. And so, of course, 15 years ago with age, you're looking at the ability to provide that same standard of living that you could have provided forever ago. And so you really want to look at, do I still have the ability to provide that need, or provide that money that I had before, and does that person still have that need? Especially if they're, technically dating other people and getting some sort of money from that other person, because you kind of have to look at how they're able to provide that same standard of living that they had during the marriage.
Ashley, if someone remarries that's being paid alimony, does that have a consequence on alimony?
If the one who's receiving the alimony
Yes.
does, yes, definitely. That's one of the statutory reasons to terminate alimony.
Okay. So there is some relief out there. You just got to dot the I's.
Yeah, you better hope that person's getting married or cohabitating.
Set them up with somebody on a date.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Would you recommend that someone get an attorney if they're wanting to modify, or is this one of those situations where you don't necessarily need one?
A lot of times in these situations, you want to be able to investigate, what's going on inside that person's life, because you have to be able to prove that not only can you no longer pay it, but that person doesn't need it anymore.
Okay.
So if you want to be able to adjust it, then it might hire somebody to look into it just a little bit, and they'll probably tell you pretty fast if they can't do it.
Right. Give you an idea of what your chances are going forward. Yeah.
And talk a little bit about just alimony itself here in the state. Is everyone entitled to alimony?
Oh, no.
Explain that, if you will.
Well, the one thing that's interesting, because April and I, my law partner, we have looked at millennial divorces and millennials in general, and that's usually, millennials have a co-working household, so it's less likely if you're both working and you make about the same that you're going to end up with alimony. So most of the time you have to have that need, and you have to have that standard of living, which is the big things everybody looks for. Those are the big target words. And then also the ability to provide it. But you need to look at income discrepancies, how long you've been married. Sometimes you see somebody come in there and they're like, well, I've been a stay-at-home parent for 20 years and I feel like I need alimony. We go on all these trips. Oh, that 20 years, we're alimony for life, let's do this. But then you have somebody come in and they're like, we've been married for 2 years and we make about, maybe 20,000 difference. And then at that point you're like, well, it's not really, not really an alimony case. Or if somebody say they cheat or something, or or they've been abusive in some way, then there's punitive reasons for alimony as well.
Oh.
Ashley, I know child support is sort of on a grid, so to speak.
Yeah.
How about alimony? Is that just discretionary with the court, or how does that work?
That's a good question.
So because you have to prove that need, you need to look at, what you actually bring in, and then you can look at, what that deficit is. A lot of times I tell people, bring in your budget, and that's so much fun. Bring in your budget, let's look at what his budget is and see if he can provide for your budget. But then sometimes, the running joke is like you're looking at between 15 to 18% of the net income of the primary earner.
Okay.
Is one of the target
sort
numbers.
Sort of a little benchmark.
Yeah. It's not necessarily a given, but it's something to look at.
Right.
Okay. It's all great helpful
That's great
information. Just starting off the show tonight. Well, thank you.